When you talk about the greatest athlete in the history of high school sports, it's not even a question. It has to be Dan Madden.
Dan Madden, clearly.
Dan Madden.
Dan Madden.
Dan Francis Madden.
Who?
Danny was always our little boy. Really a sweet child. But even at an early age, you could tell there was an intensity there. Like when he used to hold his breath and turn blue until he passed out on the floor.
Danny's the youngest, and we could tell from an early age that he was special. Even though he was tiny in comparison when he was significantly younger, he still would try to stand up to Dave all the time, and it was sweet and sad at the same time.
Growing up, Dan was just always falling. He'd be running, falling. And then later on, that turned into a lot of double contacts, a lot of mishandled balls, I'd say.
Yeah, Dan really mastered the flop before the flop was famous, at least in these parts. Anytime he got a little bit of contact, he was sprawled out on the floor. It was brilliant.
Danny always had the gift for jumping, and we've got the marks on the ceiling to prove it. I don't think we've ever cleaned up all of them quite yet. But not many people know that he really got his gift from his mother. I'll tell you what, when she was younger, she could really sky.
I think what made Dan's story so special was where he came from. Whippany Park High School wasn't known for its athletics, but that was about to change.
Dan was always a great athlete. He starred in football and basketball and track in high school. In fact, in track, he had some unusual events. I mean, he was a shot putter, a high jumper, a sprinter, a long jumper, and also threw the discus.
Growing up, Dan played a ton of sports, always involved in something. Football, basketball, track. But it was volleyball that he loved most. Have you seen that picture of him skying over that 7-4 net as like a 6-year-old? That's incredible. Probably started, at least for Dan, with our first trip to the AVP at Belmar Beach. We got to meet Karch and St. John and see Randy. And remember that time we saw Mike Dodd and Mike Whitmarsh getting pizza on the boardwalk? Those were some important times.
Yep, I remember when Dan was little, we took him to a volleyball tournament at the beach, and he fell in love.
You have to understand, volleyball is an extremely explosive sport. You have to jump high, hit hard, be fast, wear provocative clothing. It was perfect for Dan.
You could tell from an early age Dan was going to be something. I was about 9 years older, and I used to just love blasting spikes at him one after another, and he could take it as good as anybody.
Dan Madden. Yeah, he had it all. An incredible vertical leap. Athleticism, power, strength, attitude.
He's one of those fast twitch, grind it out, mash you, pulp you, spin you up into a smoothie, and then take your girlfriend while he's at it. He's that kind of athlete, or he was.
Dan's what we would call today an influencer. I'm sure of it. Had anyone outside of Hanover ever heard of him?
You know, Dan was one of the most dynamic, fast twitch athletes we had ever heard about. At least that's what he told us. Everyone knows that Dan Madden was the best middle blocker, under 6 feet, from the East Coast, in New Jersey, in Division III volleyball.
I'm pretty sure he still does hold the shuttle run record at our high school.
Then came his senior year. Dan was getting offers from everywhere. USC, UCLA, Notre Dame was begging Dan to come play 5 sports.
What Dan did next, nobody saw coming.
It was the decision before the decision. Dan left full ride scholarships and pro contracts behind to move to California to play beach volleyball.
There's only one place where I can reach my full potential and become a professional sand volleyball player. I'm going to California.
Expectations were high. Dan never lacked in confidence. He predicted he was going to move to California and start dominating the beach.
Yeah, I'd heard a lot about Dan's vertical, mostly from him. And apparently he was a really big deal in high school, or so he kept telling me. We were roommates when he first moved to California, and I will never forget the day he moved in, unpacking in our living room. He had no clothes, no books, just boxes and boxes of trophies. The guy had 1 million trophies.
Yeah, I was Dan's roommate when he first moved to California, and I think what made him so tough on the court was he used a lot of time that most people would consider sleeping. He used that to think. So the whole time you were sleeping, he was thinking. So imagine how much better that makes you on the volleyball court.
Dan was the most confident player I'd ever played with. When we played together that one time, we didn't score very many points, but when we did, he let you know about it.
Unfortunately for Dan, reality set in. He may have been a big deal in high school, but this wasn't high school anymore.
Most athletes hit their athletic prime in their 20s. Not Dan. Dan peaked his junior year of high school.
Yeah, the way I see it is Dan ran into two problems. First, his body just would not hold up over time.
With his athleticism dwindling faster than his hairline, Dan just couldn't cut it anymore. Plus, he was facing far superior athletes.
Dan's second problem was the hair. He lost it. Tried pretty much everything and none of it worked.
I remember there was this plaid golfer's hat that he would wear. I have no idea what that was all about. Then there was this wig.
The wig.
Who could forget the wig?
Oh my gosh, that wig!
The wig didn't last too long.
His complete and total failure was devastating for Dan.
Yeah, it was a sad day. I thought he was going to come running home, but he didn't.
Well, after he decided to quit, Dan went into a state of depression, and he really got so depressed that he didn't want to be Dan Madden anymore, and so he decided to change his name.
He started to develop this other personality, or this other side of his personality that I had never seen before, and then he totally blossomed into this total character, literally and figuratively, in Danny Kinda.
So what do you do in Los Angeles if you can no longer play sports? Dan tried music. He wanted to be a rock star.
Yeah, I listened to the first album. Hey Laziki. I listened to part of the first song.
Looking back now, the album was a clear cry for help.
Tell me we can still go back. Please tell me it's not too late to go back. Change! What good has it done? Change! Blotted out the sun. Change! Got us on the run. Change! It ruins the world.
I mean, it's embarrassing. He made a song called Comic Sans. Everyone hates that font, Comic Sans. And then he had the nerve to make it S-A-N-D-S. Like beach? It sucks. It's a bad idea, poorly executed. I mean, it's trite on so many levels. This album's pretty bad.
Kelly is a good friend, much more than you deserve. So remember to shout reasonable with each and every serve.
Oh, Dan Madden? I don't really have anything to say about him.
So, with his sports career over and his music career never really starting, I think that's when he met Ivy. I'm pretty sure she saved him. Yeah, I know she saved him.
How Dan ended up with one of the sweetest girls in the world will be one of life's greatest mysteries. No one can ever answer that question.
Everyone's got their thing, I guess.
I get that question all the time. People just see the superstar high school athlete and they don't really know the real Dan, but he's really sweet. He really is. It's been an interesting ride, yeah. But I wouldn't change it for the world, no. Well, not that much anyway.
Dan got married and had kids, and he leads a pretty normal life, which is, it can be hard for a high school sports star, but I think he's taken it in stride.
He's a great dad to our boys, and he's a pretty good husband.
Dan has been out of the limelight since the early 2000s. But with this new dunk announcement, he's back in the news.
But at this age, he's probably lost a bit of a step. He's telling me nearly every day, send me updates, how he's doing in the basketball court. Can he make it back? Oh, definitely. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. He can get back to peak form.
At 19, I saw him do a 360 dunk, like flying through the air, spinning, and he landed flat on his back and didn't get up. Like, I thought he was unconscious, and I ran over. Anyway, my point is, he can't dunk at 40, and if he tries, like, please make sure there's an ambulance there.
Yeah. I heard he's gonna dunk at 40. Frankly, I don't see it.
Do I think that Dan is going to dunk at the age of 40? There's no way. Not a chance.
It's not possible. No athlete has ever recovered from a torn Achilles and baldness to dunk after 40.
Let me be very clear. Not a chance in the world that Dan dunks when he's 40. No way.
Hey, well, you know what they say, miracles do happen.
Come on, guys. I took a day off of work for this interview. Sure, he can dunk at 40. You could dunk at 40. We can all dunk.
Dan has nothing to prove. I love him just the way he is. But if he can still dunk, now that's really cool. Oh, that? Oh, that's a bust that Dan made, and I always leave it on the mantle there, next to the picture of him leaping as a junior volleyball player, just to remind me of Dan, and it's kind of a majestic picture, don't you think?